So I got a viewer named Durst the Worst. And he, like many YouTubers, are mad at me for talking so much more about the left and social justice warriors than the right. He says, don't you know that the right wing's doing all this bad shit? Yes. How come you don't talk about it? I do. I just talk about it a lot less. I come from the South. I still live in the South. I know how religion and conservatism affects people, that people aren't paid what they're worth. I don't necessarily support the whole living wage thing, but $7.75, you can't buy shit. So even if you work 50 hours a week on $7.75 an hour, you will be a drain on the welfare state. You cannot possibly function, even at the slum level, on that kind of money anymore. So, and then there's trickle-down economics. So fucking, the way trickle-down economics is intended to work is that if you cut taxes on the rich and the rich make more money, the rich feel more generous and pass their earnings down the ladder to the lower people and their employees. And they would perhaps provide more benefits to their employees. They don't. There's no incentive to do that. Corporations only want to maximize profits, continue gaining profits, and then cut costs. And it is definitely true that if you were to try to pay a burger flipper somewhere between $10 and $15 an hour instead of less than $8, that burger joint, I should say, will raise their prices. But the thing is, they already have been. I remember when a Big Mac didn't cost but $2.25. It costs like $5.25 now. I remember when a 20 ounce of soda out of a vending machine was 75 cents. It's $2.25 now. Or at some places you might be lucky enough to see $1.75. That's still more than 100% markup. The thing is, I contend that part of that reason is because so much of the money has been sucked out of the system due to tax evasion and wealth hoarding by the richest 1%, that the economy struggles because nobody has any money to spend. I don't need to be an economist to know that one of the things you can do to fuck up your economy is to have people hoard money out of the system. And then how do you expect people to spend money in a consumerist capitalist system if nobody has money because nobody gets paid money? Like, this is one of the many reasons why I'm not a conservative. I'm not religious. I think the religious are a huge fucking problem in that they limit people's rights and do constantly unconstitutional things because they're selfish. And they think everybody should be like they are. And they're bigoted and even can be very sadistic to people who are not in their groups. Everybody's too fucking tribalistic. So why do I only talk about SJWs? Well, what's one of the many things that conservatives do besides hoarding money out of the system? Well, for one, I know that's a huge problem, and I know it affects me to some level, but I don't have money problems. I'm not struggling. Therefore, it doesn't concern me. I find it concerning, but it's not of pressing urgency to me. I think that people should have a right to get an abortion, although I've never been in a position where I've needed to. I've never met a person who's needed to get an abortion or known a person who's known a person who needed to get an abortion. That's anecdotal evidence, but take it for what you will. And I've actually never dated a girl who was on birth control. I use these things called condoms. They're really cheap and readily available. So it's just never been a problem for me. Okay? But I contend that people should have access to birth control and have access to abortions that the religious conservative right take away from them. Okay, that's a thing that conservatives do and try to do and have been getting worse about since the pressure's kind of been off of them. And in fact, that's what a lot of people like Durst are pissed at me for. Why is the pressure off the conservatives? Well, the first thing that people like Durst make the mistake of is acting like the SJWs and the conservatives are two separate problems. They're not. I also think that it's a huge issue that people like Durst think that conservatives are a bigger problem than SJWs. They're not. SJWs have the ability and have had more success than even the worst Bush years and even the worst Reagan years have shown for subverting the system, controlling the media, and teaching primitive, selfish, psychotic, sadistic, greedy behaviors to people. We got social justice warriors who have done more to promote racism than any other group in the past 100 years. Fucking maybe in certain parts of the South, they were actually lynching people. And there is definitely a serious problem with racism there. And do I think that conservatives still do things like suppress the black vote and try to gerrymander their way out to get black communities out of their districts? Yeah, they do. And that's a huge problem with conservatives. But how can I be so sympathetic to black people when social justice has infected their community at widespread, saturated levels with racism against white people, and going beyond affirmative action into how do we hurt white people because they deserve it, because they enslaved us, like anybody who's existed for the past 2 generations of black people, if not 4, have ever been a slave. No, they're like, well, they enslaved us. Because social justice is like producing this behavior of fucking, we should hate white people because they did shit to us. Okay, and then they lie about historical oppression and about how the black community is fucking just riddled with problems that are the fault of white people and not what they actually are, which is the fault of black people doing it to themselves. But they not only want white people to save them from themselves, but they want to blame what they've done to themselves on white people, which is such a preposterous, disgusting, and evil egotism that is fucking physically revolting to me. So how can I be sympathetic to that they don't have access to abortions, or that they don't make any money, and that they're not paid any money, and that there's no job opportunities in their area when they've destroyed their own communities? Like, how am I supposed to be sympathetic to that? You know, what else do I have problems with the left about? The social justice community has taken away not just your right to speak. They don't just seek to destroy the First Amendment itself. They also want to take away your right to consume. Keep in mind that everybody wants to pretend that the snowflakes who are afraid of being offended have always been the conservatives. Do you know who Tipper Gore is? It's the wife of Al Gore. Do you want to know the whole metal scare where people tried to sue Ozzy Osbourne and claim that Twisted Sister was Satanist? Who was leading the charge on all that? Democrats, the left. The left have always been anti-consumer. They've always been, you can't handle this toy because your parents are fucking garbage. They don't even fucking raise you. They leave you to your own devices with a television, and then they give you a toy you could possibly swallow. And rather than teaching you not to put shit in your mouths, we have to remove that toy from the market because it's a choking hazard. We can't have toys that look like guns because, that teaches kids violence, which is a pseudoscience that has never been fucking goddamn ever represented. So this is why I watched the cartoons I loved when I was a child 23 years ago. You would actually never see anybody punch somebody or kick somebody or shoot somebody. Whether it was X-Men or Spider-Man or G.I. Joe, everybody either made people crash their cars, they grappled and threw each other, or they maybe shot really like kitty-looking cartoon lasers at each other. They never, forget shooting each other, they never punched each other. This has been going on for 3 decades. So all this coddling, this acting like people are primitive savages who can't learn any better, and rather than educating the public not just about politics, which we don't do. Everything I know about politics is self-taught. I was never taught a fucking thing about politics in the history of my formal education in America, which is another huge fucking problem. I've lived my whole life under an anti-consumerist culture, and now it's like you can't even say that black people do shit to themselves. No, the only acceptable narratives is white people do bad shit to black people. That racism or even anything that's even legitimate criticism is not allowed for anybody but against white people. Now, why do you think I talk about that so fucking much, you fucking retards? Why do you think that I'm against the left's rampant sexism against men? Why do you fucking think, you fucking retards? I, as somebody who loves video games, movies, I love books, I love television. Why do you think I'm against an anti-media fucking organization, you fucking retards? Why? Are you fucking kidding me? Why do you think, Durst, that I was fucking so fucking rude to you? Because your accusation is fucking retarded. But go ahead and go think your own way and think that the religious are worse than the SJWs. You're fucking wrong, but you have free choice. And guess what? There is no shortage of quality anti-religious conservative channels. Go try Logic. Go try the Bible Reloaded. Okay? Fucking, go try King Crocoduck. Go try Potholer 54. They're out there. Go watch them. Don't tell me what the fuck I'm doing wrong, you piece of shit. You don't have to watch me. Now, I know you weren't exactly trying to tell me I can't do what I am doing, but there are tons of people who are. And they're the social justice warriors that you pretend aren't a problem. You make me fucking sick. Ignorant fucking retards.